bronchioles. So by observing this, you will know whether you're looking at a bronchi or a bronchiole, because later we're going to talk about diseases involving bronchi and bronchioles. This is where gas exchange takes place. So the lumen is representative of the capillary. As you can see, it's lined by endothelium. It is supposed to be next to what we call as a basement membrane. The basement membrane is supposed to be thin. Okay? It is supposed to be that alveoli are lying next to each other. But as you can see later, as we go through the interstitial diseases, you will see diseases that causes interstitial inflammation, giving rise to widening of interalveolar septa. Okay? So at this point, take note that the basement membrane is classically thin. Then you have the epithelial side. So dalawa ha, you have the endothelial side and you have the epithelial side, which is now composed of pneumocytes. The pneumocytes are of two types, type 1 and type 2. Take note that type 2 is the one involved in repair and even in surfactant production. Okay, let's try to recall patho A. What is the role of surfactant? What disease do you remember in patho A, which actually leads to a problem in the lung if the baby is born prematurely? Ano tawag doon? Come again? RDS, or your hyaline membrane disease. Okay? Now, first case. What is wrong with this autopsy case? As you can see from the image, the other lung seems smaller. So that's what you call as hypoplasia. When do you expect these things to happen? Whenever there is movement, impede movement of fetus in utero. Like for example, when you have decreased amount of amniotic fluid, which you call as blank. Anong tawag doon? Decreased amount of amniotic fluid. Anong tawag doon? Oligohydramnios. Okay? Or when you have a mass in the uterus, like for example, the most common of which is leiomyoma. Number 2, you have a child with a mass that is cystic. Okay? This belongs to a category called foregut cyst. Now, from the term itself, it is cystic. In relation to our topic, it is what we call as bronchogenic cyst. From the term itself, broncho, that should remind you that how it looks like under the microscope is reminiscent of a bronchi, meaning it's lined by ciliated epithelium, you have cartilage, you have submucosal glands. But of course, the presentation of the mass is a cyst. Number 3, you have a child with, on X-ray, have extra tissues. Okay? That's actually what you call a sequestration. It may be that the commonality in these two types are already written in bullet form. It lacks connection to the airway system. It has an abnormal blood supply. The differentiation is the location. Embedded within the parenchyma is called intralobar. Not embedded within the lung parenchyma is of course called extralobar. Okay? Next patient. When you see the word atelectasis, the C should remind you of the word collapse. That's why, as you can see from the histologic examination, you will see slit-like spaces because the air spaces are collapsed. Why is this so? There are 3 types. The first is exemplified by a mass, for example, that is occurring in the main stem bronchi. Classically, examples of which are squamous cell carcinoma and small cell carcinoma. The presence of the lung mass, okay, compresses the adjacent alveoli, giving rise to atelectatic changes. The second is what you call as compression. Okay? This is, from the term itself, something is occupying the pleural cavity that compresses the alveoli. Example, air. What do you call that? Kung air. Pneumothorax. Kung blood, hemothorax. Kung fluid, pleural effusion. Okay? Now, number 3, if you have irregular areas of contraction, it may lead to atelectasis, usually arising on the background of infection. Okay? So when you look at the word atelectasis, the C, again, should remind you of what? Collapse. There are 3 types. Ano ulit yun? Resorption, compression, and contraction. Okay? Now, next case. Look at this patient, and on the background, when you see a patient with flooded lung like this, why am I saying flooded lung? Look at the image of the gross. As you exude, as you cut through the lungs, fluid exudes out of it, usually bubbly and frothy like that. Okay? When you have that on autopsy, think of pulmonary edema. When you have pulmonary edema, there are a variety of causes which you should run through your mind as you're doing the autopsy. Like what? These are the causes. The orange are actually the main causes. So the first orange is called hemodynamic because that should remind you of patho A. What is patho A? How do you form edema? Sige nga, ngayon naiintindihan niyo na kung bakit patho A muna bago mag-patho B, diba? Okay, how do you form edema? Edema is defined as increased amount of fluid in the interstitial tissue space. You form edema by increasing hydrostatic pressure, okay, the first blue on the category, decreasing oncotic pressure, the second blue on the category, and last is lymphatic obstruction. Classically, the example given in your book is actually increased hydrostatic pressure, particularly left-sided heart failure. Okay? But before I proceed on discussing that, I would want to enumerate what's on orange. So again, hemodynamic, number 2 is direct injury to your alveoli. Like when? Like when you have a stab wound direct into the chest. Okay? Trauma or infection or other causes, which is actually the last one. Okay? Ay, hindi kita. Sa dulo, which is other causes of pulmonary edema. Now, I want to talk about this. Ano ulit ang cause nito? Increased hydrostatic pressure. Okay? So, what happens here is that your left side, something is causing a pressure buildup on the left side of the lung, of the heart, so that it actually goes back into your lungs. So what happens to your lungs? It floods the lung. So edema is expected. So when you try to cut through your lung parenchyma, fluid is expected to exude out of it. When you take sections, the fluid is supposed to be within the alveoli. And as you can see here, it's pinkish deposit within the alveoli. Now, pulmonary edema, such in this case, which is commonly due to left-sided heart failure, is what you call as cardiogenic type of pulmonary edema. If your lungs is now flooded, what will happen to the right lung? It will have to have a greater force needed to actually push the blood from right going into the lungs. But eventually, it dumps back into your right side. And then what happens now to your patient? You'll have manifestation going back. Usually the jugular vein gets to be engorged. And that tells you now that you have biventricular failure. Okay? Point of emphasis, left-sided heart failure, increased hydrostatic pressure. Clinically speaking, you'll have difficulty of breathing. Difficulty of breathing, but your problem is in the heart. Why? Because your lungs gets to be flooded. Okay? Now, how is it happening? When you have pulmonary edema, this is an example of cardiogenic versus non-cardiogenic. So when I say non-cardiogenic, I'm actually talking about what? I'm talking about cases of decreased oncotic pressure of plasma protein. I'm talking about cases of direct injury to the lungs, like for example, in infection or trauma. So whatever is the pathophysiology, it actually is somewhat the same. You'll have inflammatory response. Let's go back to patho A. Again, yes. Okay. What happens in acute inflammation? First thing is you have increased vascular permeability, okay, which allows fluid to come in. Now, what else? You have inflammatory cells going to the side. Bear in mind that the lungs do have resident macrophages. But if there is a need for acute inflammation, like in infection, in direct microvascular injury, neutrophils goes to the side. It releases mediators, so that eventually these mediators causes necrosis in your alveoli. Thereby, it produces now what you call as hyaline membrane formation. When you have hyaline membrane, that tells you that your lung is having DAD. Ano yung DAD? Diffuse alveolar damage. Okay? In patho, you have to see the hyaline membrane to diagnose that. Clinically, when you are internist, you call it ALI. Anong ALI? Acute lung injury or ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. You have to diagnose this by looking at symptoms of patients. Baliktad tayo ha. Kami, we have to look for hyaline membrane. Kayo, you have to look for hypoxemia. Okay? You have to look for dyspnea and tachypnea because classically this is what patients will present with. You can do an X-ray which actually will tell you a white lung. Now, at the level of the tissues, this is what's happening. Take a look at the two inflammatory cells that are predominant in this illustration. You have the macrophages and you have the neutrophils. As I have mentioned, they will secrete chemical mediators, like for example, tumor necrosis factor, adhesion molecules which will attract other inflammatory cells to the site. Once it happens, it then causes necrosis which leads you to form hyaline membrane, and that is how we diagnose diffuse alveolar damage. Okay? You follow? Okay, now, this is again a comparison of normal with injury, initially starting as pulmonary edema and eventually may lead to DAD. Okay? DAD or, ano ulit tawag natin doon? Diffuse alveolar damage. Okay. Morning, naiintindihan? Sige, lipat ako ha. Aga ng alas 7, ano? Ang hirap pala talaga ng alas 7. Okay. Kasi pag lecturer kami ng alas 7, 5 araw kaming alas 7. You are the last alas 7 sa linggo na ito. Okay? Lahat ng lecture ng patho, B, pinalagay ko ng 7 to 10. For the reasons that we have limited laboratory, we have only one lab. So, all of the sections are decked in that lab. But you must understand that there's also CD doing lab. So the 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 1 to 3, 3 to 5 are all lab downstairs. So we had to push back all the lab starting from 8. But we have to push up all the lectures at 7 so that we can actually do the LGD also. Okay. So anyway, balik dito. Kayo nga gumising eh. Gising tayong lahat ng alas 7. So obstructive versus restrictive. Nasaan na ako? So if you're following my lecture, I'm done with congenital. If you're doing your ebook, I'm actually done also with DAD ALI. Okay, I'm now with obstructive versus restrictive. Points of emphasis. Look at the words that I have put in caps lock in my presentation. Because that should remind you of what to remember. Okay. When you are thinking of a patient with obstructive lung disease, the problem is that your airways is blocked. Pag sinabi kong airway, what am I talking about again? I'm talking about trachea, bronchi, bronchioles. Okay? So that there is resistance. Now, when you're talking about restrictive, the problem is expansion. Why is this so? Because something is limiting the expansion of your lungs. Either because, for example, it's a physical problem, like what? kyphoscoliosis, or like for example, obesity, or like for example, interstitial lung disease. It prevents expansion because interstitial lung disease, as I have said, is lying next to your, di ba, alveolar and epithelium and endothelium. It expands the basement membrane. So again, it's a form of restrictive. Okay? How do you diagnose? Lahat ng pag-uusapan natin ngayon, pag pumunta sa clinic mo, anong complaint? Usually ubo, difficulty of breathing, may or may not have fever. Okay? So yun ang lagi. Anong lagi mo dapat gawin? You should have at least a CBC baseline. You should have a chest x-ray. It depends on your physical exam. If you're looking at this now, you must do a pulmonary function test. That is what is meant by PFT. Okay? Pulmonary function test is added. If you have a productive cough, you need to do a sputum analysis, which then includes gram stain, AFB staining, culture, and sensitivity. Okay? So at least those are the basics. If you're looking at a tumor, you might not stop with chest x-ray. You might eventually go and do CT scan for further slicing of the mass and for you to better prognosticate your patient. Okay? So for now, let's talk about obstructive. So ano ulit ang magic term natin sa obstructive? Resistance. Okay? Take a look at this illustration. There's an overlap, as you can see, from the color skin. Because obstructive diseases usually presents as clinically they overlap. To the point that sometimes you will have a hard time distinguishing whether you're looking at bronchitis or whether you're looking at emphysema. Or maybe you're looking at a patient with both. Okay? Now, let us try to describe each one. The E should remind you of enlargement of air spaces. Distal to the terminal bronchi, take note, accompanied by destruction of walls. Now, there are 4 types. The types are based on the location. Location. So, like if it's central, if it's distal, if it's irregular, or if it's involving the whole asinus. Like for example, in patients with alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. So again, there are 4 types. Centri-acinar, pan-acinar, distal acinar, and irregular. Now, if you look at the lung, regardless of location, you will see cyst-like spaces like this. Sometimes they coalesce to form bullae. This is an example of a patient with bullae on autopsy. So side question, when the bullae ruptures into the pleural cavity, what condition do you expect? Yun ang kaibahan ng patho-B. Doktor na kayo ngayon, ito na talaga. Okay? Mas mabilis lang dito. 1 week dito, mas matagal pagka nag-3rd year na kayo. Bakit? Robbins sa 2nd year. Sa 3rd year, anong tawag? Harrison. Okay? May OB kayo sa 2nd year sa patho. Sa 3rd year, anong tawag? Williams. Okay? May infancy and childhood diseases kayo dito. Diseases of infancy. Sa 3rd year, anong tawag? Nelson. Okay? Lahat ng inopera ng surgeon na alalin nyo sa patho. Lahat ng organ. Ano sa 3rd year? Anong textbook nyo sa 3rd year? Swartz. Okay. So in short, lumalaki yung textbook nyo pag nag-VNEC kayo. Okay? Pero ini-introduce namin lahat sa Robbins. Okay? Balik tayo dito. Anong sagot sa tanong ko? What will happen if the bullae ruptures and leaks out in the pleural cavity? What is your diagnosis on the chart? Wala. Sinabi ko na kanina eh. Air in the pleural cavity is called blank. Pneumothorax. Okay, which may then lead to blank. Atelectasis. Yes, what type of atelectasis? Oops. Ano, Doc? ba? Dapat ganon. Ano daw? Anong tawag? Congestive? Ano yung tatlong types ng atelectasis? Resorption? Contraction ba? Irregular? Balikan natin ang atelectasis. Okay, ulit. O, anong tawag? Alin dyan ang sagot? B. Yes, compression. Okay? So, balikan natin ang emphysema. Pagdugtong na natin. Oo. Ulit fill in the blanks. If you have a patient with bullous emphysema, it ruptured, what will then be your diagnosis on the chart? Pneumothorax. What is your expected, expected effect of the ruptured bullae on the adjacent alveoli? Atelectasis. What do you call that specific type of atelectasis? Compression. Okay? Sige. Let's move. So as I was saying, you see cystic spaces. Why is it like that? Why is it enlarged? And eventually, why will the wall rupture? These are the answers. Okay. You're familiar with apoptosis. What is apoptosis? Programmed cell death. What is number 2, the middle one? That's the chapter na tinuro sa inyo ni Dr. De Matera. Ang dami niyong sinaulong mediators. Alala niyo? Okay. Ang gusto kong i-emphasize is yung pangatlo because that's actually the main mechanism. Protease, anti-protease imbalance. To explain that, I would like to use this illustration. Now, it's not in Robbins, this one, but it makes my life easier as a professor. Okay, so we use this. Think of it like this, it's like a seesaw. Now, anti-protease is supposed to be protective. Smoking elicits production of protease. From the term itself, it's an enzyme. It acts on something. Elastase. Okay? Elastase is actually release. Elastase acts on elastin. When you have elastin, okay, you lose the capacity of recoil. So that what happens now? It expands but never go back. Okay? So it expands and continually expands until the wall gets to be destroyed. That is why it is called, again, elastase or protease, anti-protease mechanism. Inherently, you have an anti-protease which is supposed to protect you from this kind of problems. But repeated smoking, when you do that, promotes formation of elastase that tips off the balance. So, that being said, what happens now to your alveoli? It is now enlarged. You lose elastin because it is now fragmented. So it is enlarged and eventually you will see disruption in the continuity of your alveoli. I don't know if you can appreciate it from where you're seated. This is an example of areas with destruction of the walls. That's why the definition of emphysema is enlargement of air spaces accompanied by destruction of walls. Okay? There are other forms of emphysema, but whatever is the type, it will look the same. Number 2, bronchitis. Kindly read the first bullet, because that is what you are supposed to ask from your patients. How long is the cough? Okay? Is it productive or not? Okay? And can you identify any other cause? The second bullet is also important because bronchitis, like emphysema, is also related to smoking. Now, I want you to take a look at this picture because I chose to put that to remind you of what to think when you're looking at a patient with bronchitis. Bronchitis implies inflammation of the airways. Now, take a look at the image. There is a yellow material inside because that is the main problem with bronchitis, mucus hypersecretion. the mucus hypersecretion, when you take a look at it using the section, can be measured actually by increased size of mucus glands. Take note of bullet number 2. That is what we call as the RIDE index. That is why classically, patients with chronic bronchitis will present with productive cough. It is smoking, it is chronic, so you're expecting your inflammatory cells to be lymphocytes and macrophages. It is smoking, so that you can expect an adaptive change also from your bronchial epithelium, bullet number 3. From columnar, it may change to squamous. And that is actually what you call as blank. Ano tawag doon? Metaplasia. Metaplasia is eventually may again change into the next phase, which is now with atypia, and that is what you call as dysplasia. And then eventually it may give rise to malignancy, initially in situ and eventually invasive. Sundan? So ulit Ano ulit yun? Metaplasia, dysplasia, in situ, invasive. Later, I'm going to talk about squamous cell carcinoma. So, right at this point, you are now, I'm now teaching you 2 things already. That's bronchitis and emphysema. I told you that there is an overlap. So, I tried to tabulate. In your book, it's quite a number of pages. But hopefully, this table would help you differentiate one from the other. Side question. Sige nga, if you're following my line of discussion, why do you have copious amount of sa cough? Okay. Why is it described as copious for bronchitis and not for emphysema? Because of what? Mucus. Yes, mucus production. What did I point out histologically as an important index to indicate the hyperplasia of mucus glands? Anong tawag doon? RAID index. Okay? RAID index. Here, side question. Naputol pala siya. So this is an example of patient with, again, comparing the two, sa dulo, supposed to be, nakalagay dyan, ano ang classic appearance ng patient with bronchitis? They are expected to be cyanotic. This is what you call as blue bloater. For emphysema, this is what you call as pink puffer. All clear? Okay? Do you follow? Now, let's move to the next one. I want you to compare the two. What do you see? Number 1, we're talking of asthma. So, what are the 3 things you should remember using this image? 1 is bronchoconstriction. Okay? 2 is mucus production. 3 is thickening of the walls, because this is a chronic process also. So, I chose to put this image because that will actually be the emphasis of discussing the disease. Apart from that, so ano ulit yung tatlo? Bronchoconstriction, mucus production, ano pa yung pangatlo? Thickening of the walls, or otherwise known as airway remodeling. When you're dealing with asthma, the most important question to ask, first is it triggered by an exposure to an allergen? Because that is usually what you call as atopic asthma, and that is usually the common type of asthma. Okay? Now, if it is not triggered by an allergen exposure, that's what you call as non-atopic, or basically, I have also tabulated it as such. When you say atopic, it is exposure to allergen. You must remember then that this is IgE mediated. Now, if the answer of your patient is yes, triggered by exposure to allergen, your next question is, does it run in the family? Because if it does, you can do a test or skin test. This is what you call as RAST, nasa dulo, RAST. Okay? A skin test so that you can actually identify the allergen causing the trigger. When your patient is exposed, this is actually what happens. It causes bronchoconstriction because of the release of cytokines. The cytokines, particularly interleukin-4, produces IgE. The IgE, the immediate effect is to constrict the airways and to produce mucus. Now, as you can see there, constrict the airways, produce the mucus. So what happens to your patient? Lumiliit na yung airway, it's barado pa with mucus. So what happens? The patient can inhale, pero hindi siya maka-exhale. So your pharmacologic drugs is supposed to what? Bronchodilate, lyse the mucus. Now, if you have this illustration simply tells you the effect again. Again, it is IgE, you have AOS, you release the mediators, that the immediate effect is bronchoconstriction and mucus production. The mucus plugs the airways like this. So classically, this is what you call as mucus plugs. Now, as the mediators are released, there are two waves of mediators. The first is the early phase. The immediate effect of that, as I have said, is bronchoconstriction and mucus secretion. It is expected to be viscous. Look at this autopsy patient. This is the phlegm of your patient. Really? Yes. Plugged out of the bronchi near the ruler. As you can see, the mucus plug follows the airway from the bronchi down to the level of the bronchioles. Ganyan ka-thick. That's why the emphasis here is actually thick mucus plug. That is classic of patients dying with asthma. Now, I said that there are two waves of mediators, early and late. The late can actually persist for up to 48 hours. So as I was saying, so the thick mucus plug, IgE mediated. When you take a look at the sections, you will then see eosinophils, a lot of them. This then confirms that the cause of death of the patient is IgE or atopic asthma. Now, let's go back to the mediators. Anong sabi kong effect? Bronchoconstriction. Ito yung mediators natin. You have leukotrienes, acetylcholines, interleukin-5, and galectin. Now, other mediators are as follows. Histamine, prostaglandin D2, and PAF. Yung suspects na sinasabi dito are actually the ones being investigated still. They are supposed to develop medicines which will further control the release of these mediators, hopefully to improve the treatment of patients with asthma. I told you a while ago, two questions.